Hi everyone, my name is Ryan and this is lesson 37 of Learning JavaScript. In this lesson we'll be learning about the onfocus and the onblur event. So in your web browser you need to create a form with 3 input boxes. So a focus is where your mouse is clicked inside of a box and you can see there's a cursor that's flashing. And in my browser I get a slightly darker border that appears around the box. So that box has gained focus. So an on-focus event occurs as soon as I click inside of a box. An on-blur, on the other hand, is the opposite of an on-focus. So as soon as my mouse is taken away from the box loses focus. So an on-blur event is triggered. Okay, so for this exercise what I'd like us to do is as soon as we click inside of a box, I would like the text inside that box to disappear so that the user can then enter the information. And I want it to happen for each and every one of the boxes. So I think the easiest way to do this would actually be to use a for loop around all the form elements. Then no matter how large my form grows, the same rules will apply to each and every box. So let's go straight to our JavaScript. And I'm going to start by creating a for loop. We'll start the loop at 0 because the array starts at 0. And we'll keep going until x is 1 less than document.form0.elements.length. Okay, so remember this would be elements 0, elements 1, and elements 2. So even though there are 3 elements, because the array starts at 0, we only go up to 2. Hence the less than rather than a less than or equal to sign. Okay, so that will create a local variable called elm for element. And we'll say document.form0.elements x. That will represent the current form element. This form may also have other types of form elements. For example, there might be a button or a checkbox or radio button. And we only want the onfocus and the onblur to apply to the text boxes. So we need to check to see if the type is equal to text and only then attach the onfocus event to that particular form element. So we'll do an if statement to see if the type of the element is equal to text. And if it is, we know we can go ahead and do the onfocus. Going to call an anonymous function, and in that function we are going to set the value of this. Now remember that the word this refers to the current object. Because we're in a loop situation and we're dealing with multiple different input boxes, we can't just use elm. We must use this to refer to the current form element. So this is directly tied into where we attached our event. So because we are attaching the onfocus to a specific form element, this will refer to that specific form element. So this dot value will be equal to an empty string. Okay, so if I click in any of the boxes, the text now disappears. Okay, so one bug that we have now is as soon as I click in the first box, it tells me to enter my surname. So if I enter a surname of Smith, then I click outside of the box, but then I click inside the box again, it clears it again. I don't want it to clear it the second time round. I only want it to clear it if it said enter something. So what I'll do is I'll say a little if statement. If this dot value dot search and by our regular expressions, if it starts with the word enter. Now remember, the search function returns the position where it found something, or it returns -1 if it couldn't find it. So if it could find it, if it could find the word enter, in other words, if it's not equal to -1, then we can clear the box. Otherwise it shouldn't clear the box. I'm not going to even have an else statement. Let's test this. So if I click, it clears it. But now if I enter something like Smith, and then I click in there again, you see it didn't clear it the second time around because it didn't start with the word enter. So that's exactly what I want. Now I want to implement the reverse of this. So in other words, we click inside the box, it clears. When I click outside of the box, I want it to once again say enter surname. Okay, so we'll say another event, element.onblur, and we'll create another anonymous function. Okay, so what must happen if we blur from the box? Then we should put the text back into the box. But we should only put the text back into the box if they blur and leave the box empty. Because if they had to enter their name and then they blur from the box, we don't want it to say enter your name again. So we want to check to see if this dot value is empty when we blur from the box. Then we'll set this dot value to be equal to enter what? Well, the problem is in each case it's different. In the first case it's enter surname, then it's enter cell phone, then it's enter email. So this part is changing every time. So I can go to the HTML and see what's the part that changes every time. It's the name actually. So I can use the name, I can say enter, and then I can use the name property to get whatever field I need to enter. So this dot name. Alright, so let's test this. If I click inside the box, it clears the box. If I click outside the box, it puts the text back in again. That's wonderful. Now if I enter somebody's surname and I click outside the box, it stays where it was. It didn't replace that with enter surname because they've already entered their surname. If they click inside the cell phone, they click outside, it once again says enter cell phone. But if you click inside and you put the cell phone and you click outside, then it doesn't change that text. So here's a nice example of onblur and onfocus.